Hello there, my name is Pavel Steinmach and now we'll unveil the top news of recent days. Ukraine will hold an Inter-Governmental summit with India. This was announced by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba. According to him, he and his Indian counterpart agreed to hold the first meeting of the Indian-Ukrainian Commission since 2018 in the near future.
My first call in 2024 was with Subramanian Jaishankar on Ukrainian-Indian relation. I informed my counterpart of Russian recent escalation of terror and mass air attacks, which caused civilian suffering and destruction. We discussed further cooperation on the peace formula. In this regard, I informed my counterpart of Ukraine's vision of the Global Peace Summit of Leaders, Dmytro Kuleba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on social network X, formerly Twitter.
India is one of the important countries for our further cooperation, as the ambassador of Ukraine to India, Alexander Polishchuk, said earlier in an interview with Voice of America. The main efforts our country is currently directing in the implementation of the peace formula. And we have clear support from our Indian partners. For example, in matters related to ecocide taking place in Ukraine, as well as humanitarian demining, Indian partners have quite strong capabilities to help Ukraine carry out this work. There is a high interest of Indian business in coming to Ukraine and helping in restoration and reconstruction. India is expressing its interest in food security issues because it is also very understandable for India and very understandable in terms of regional problems that exist in food supply and food security. Ukraine is one of the largest exporters of agricultural products, and there is certainly a need for this in India. We also expect that India will become more actively involved in issues related to nuclear security. This is also one of those directions that is understandable in India from the point of view of the development of nuclear energy here, and from the point of view of not accepting absolutely threats of using nuclear weapons. As you can see, Ukraine continues its work on expanding cooperation with all countries of the world. During this year, it is planned to open 10 embassies in Africa and to hold the Ukraine-South America Summit. Five countries joined BRICS this year. These are Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE and Ethiopia. The countries were invited to join the bloc in the summer of 2023, and the Kremlin will position this as expanding their influence on the geopolitical map of the world. Especially this year, when Moscow chairs this organization, Russia has long been trying to oppose the West to everything else and uses all possible platforms for this. And they will use BRICS. Russia seeks greatness, demands greater recognition and exclusive rights. At the same time, it accuses the West of hegemony. Unfortunately, as we can see, Russia's aggression against Ukraine did not receive proper attention in the discussions of the BRICS Summit 2023, even though this war has significant economic and security impacts on the participating states. It is critical to recognize Russia's responsibility for undermining global food security through its aggressive actions against Ukraine, highlighting the negative impact of Kremlin's Hunger Games and intended food weaponization. Russia blatantly ignores the established norms of civilized coexistence of countries, but appeals to international law and justice as soon as it can benefit from it. Therefore, the issue of Putin's arrest during a possible trip to Brazil for the G20 summit remains open.
Will he be arrested when he arrives? Maybe, maybe not. That will be decided by the judiciary. And a president of the republic doesn't judge judicial decision. Whether Putin goes or not, he faces prosecution. Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, president of Brazil.
Russia is becoming increasingly counterproductive and toxic even to the states it considers its closest partners. Aggression in the Black Sea and unilateral withdrawal from the Black Sea Grain Initiative will have far-reaching negative consequences, primarily for developing countries. This vicious attack on global food security can be overcome only in close cooperation with developing countries, who must send Russia a clear signal that its behavior is unacceptable. The aim of BRICS member states to maintain neutrality towards Russia's neo-colonial failure in Ukraine doesn't bring justice closer. Supporting Ukraine is not about being pro-Western or anti-Western. The world is not this simple, but it is about being pro-human and standing for dignity and justice. It is about respecting international law and rules-based order, as well as the right of every sovereign nation to choose its peaceful path of development. It is more obvious now that, incapable of breaking the Ukraine-West tandem up front, Russia is focusing on distracting the West by creating additional conflicts worldwide. It also proves that Putin's ultimate goal is not just bringing Ukraine under control, but also reshaping the global order of things, dividing the world anew. The conflicts flaming up in the Middle East, Latin America, etc., in all of which Russia has a stake, are just the beginning. Russia hides under the guise of a fighter against colonialism. However, it seeks hegemony in the countries of Africa, Asia, and South America, and demonstrates its imperial neo-colonialism in Ukraine. By the way, Argentina should have joined this year too. However, at the end of December, the country's new president Javier Milei officially announced that Buenos Aires was withdrawing from membership in BRICS. Moreover, the real economic interaction in the bloc and its efficiency are currently low. 2024 will be a record year for the number of elections and voters who will give their vote. As political rights, about 60 countries representing half of the world's population will hold elections at various levels. Of course, the whole world will be watching the US presidential election in November. It will probably become the most important for the world, and of course, they will be for Ukraine. In addition to the American ones, political highlights in other important countries and regions where the elections will be held. One of them, the presidential elections in Taiwan. Their results will affect relations between Taiwan and China and may have global geopolitical implications. Elections in India and Pakistan. Winners could reshape the dynamics in the strategic Indo-Pacific region, where the US and its allies hope to strengthen ties. And there will be elections to the European Parliament, where right-wing political forces may strengthen their positions too, which could potentially negatively affect relations with the USA and support for Ukraine. Most importantly, elections will be held in autocratic countries, parliamentary elections in Belarus and Iran, presidential elections in Russia. Of course, these are fake elections, but they may bring something that the authorities in these countries do not expect: protests. And at least they were in Belarus in 2020. Putin's new pseudo-elections can also play a cruel joke on the dictator. After all, if the victory is not unequivocal, it can cause various social protests. Well, to prevent this, the Russians are already preparing falsifications. They have banned online broadcasts from polling stations, are preparing lists of voters, and have also banned the presence of independent observers during the counting of votes. After all, it is not necessary for everyone to see how falsifications take place. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching. Stay updated and comment, like, and subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support really matters. Goodbye.